Good morning. And let's just find our seats. Where is my stuff? Just for the opening, nice and comfy, no stress. So make sure nothing, my doors, sorry. So when you're seated, you don't want to be distracted by anything so that you actually can just go in and bring everything home, smaller footprint, draw everything from way out there to way in here. And most things come back to the heart. We're very heart-centric as creatures. And spending this time in the heart chakra has been really interesting for me. So that's my way of introducing the last mudra associated with the heart chakra. It's a beautiful mudra, and it's the mudra of awakening. And that's pretty loaded, actually, when you think about it. But for the sake of today, whatever it means to you, awakening, coming alive is one thing that comes to mind for me. So the mudra is bring your fingers together, interlock all of them. You're going to keep the thumbs straight like this. And then you're going to find your pointer fingers and bring those together. So they're pointing up to the ceiling. Separate your palms a little bit. So it looks like this. I think this is very pretty. And just place it at a comfortable place. Like this is comfortable for me. And your first few breaths might just be breath, and the fact that you're in this mudra is already sparking a direction. And then if you want to start thinking about what awakening means to you, I really prefer to kind of tap into my own understanding of things first, and then allow it to be influenced by somebody else's ideas or even the origins of these teachings. So whatever awakening means to you, sometimes it's just being aware, sending attention. I mean, waking up is a transition from one state to another. It can also mean clarity, crystal clear. Suddenly, something is crystal clear. It's also a source of inspiration. And often it can lead to awakening the truth. And all those things are so potent. So let's continue breathing 5 breaths. Whatever that initiated within you, whether it was a feeling, whether it was a thought, whether it was nothing at all. Or maybe it's just awakening the breath. Again, micro to macro. And after the next breath, just release. And we're actually going to start lying down. So lie down on your backs. With your knees bent. And just take a moment, sending your attention and your awareness to what it feels like to lie down on the floor. And as you're here, I want you to become aware of the natural curve of the spine. And in order to reinforce that, you're just going to rock or swing your pelvis in both directions. So when you swing it in the direction of the ceiling, your lower back presses into the floor. When you swing it the opposite way, the lower back lifts off the floor. So we're just going to play with that a little bit. And you might feel a really intense need for this. So much compression ends up in that lower back, in that sacrum, in the pelvis. So we'll do 2 more swinging of the pelvis. And after the last one, just land in a neutral spine. So you'll notice a neutral spine gives you a little bit of a space between your back and the floor. We want to stay there. Bring the soles of the feet together and drop your knees out to the side. And we'll just take 5 breaths here, paying attention. So everybody generally has a different experience depending on your range of motion or depending on muscles being tight, depending on hard edges, soft edges. This is your time to check in and just make note. And you also might want to add any sensations or messages coming from this shape, pose, is an awakening of sorts. So what you're feeling is an awakening of that part of the body. After the next breath, carefully bring your knees hips width apart, separate your feet hips width apart, draw your knees towards your chest, place your hands on either side of your knees, and gently press the knees out and the palms in. And you might feel a real stability occur in your lower back, in your sacrum. So if you don't feel it, just keep pressing and perhaps you will. But don't worry if you don't. And then we're going to let that go and just draw the knees in towards the chest. Bring your fingertips down to the floor. Your arms have nothing to do with this. And we're just going to circle the knees. 5 in one direction. And then reverse. Other direction. 3, 2, and 1. Nice. When you come back, keep your feet up in the air, but bring the soles of the feet together. And you can grab onto your feet like this if that's available to you. If not, you can hold onto your ankles. It really doesn't matter. I just want you to draw your feet towards your body to the best of your ability. But at the same time, you want to resist curling the tailbone. And just breathe into that. So when you resist curling the tailbone, you're just trying to maintain the natural curve of the spine. It's just the way the spine wants to be. And it's also a way of keeping your psoas long when it's being compressed. Inhaling and exhaling. I'm going to separate the feet and go into a happy baby. This is the same pose as a squat, right? You might recognize it. So if I were to flip you onto your feet, you would be in a squat. So that being said, keep your elbows soft and keep drawing your knees towards the floor. And you'll intensify that hip fold and use your breath. And one more breath. So we're going to release the feet, bring them down to the floor. Go right into crossing the right ankle over the left knee and drawing the left leg, bent knee, leg towards your chest. And I'm less interested in how deep you go into this. I'm more interested in you resisting curling your tailbone. And see if that wakes up your glutes. We'll take about 2 more breaths here. And we're going to release that. Leave everything the way it is. Bring the left foot down to the floor, but then walk it over to the right. And you're going to drop both knees down to their own side. So it's the equivalent of a half lotus lying down. This often wakes up your hip flexors. So if you want to understand what awakening is, just pay attention to your hip flexors and send them love. For about 2 more breaths. Pull your tummy in on the exhale. And also just notice how that's a natural curve of the spine without you even trying. So when you bring these knees back up, you're going to cross the right knee tightly over the left and go into this Gomukhasana cow variation. So if you're able to hold on to your feet without disturbing your shoulders, do that. Or you can just draw the knees towards the chest. But again, I'm less interested in the depth of this than I am in you resisting curling the tailbone so that we wake up your hips. And use your breath and pull in your tummy if that's available to you at this time, if you're not screaming from just doing this pose. And we're going to let that go. Bring the feet down to the floor with bent knees, left ankle over right knee, and draw that right knee towards your chest. If this is easy, you can use your left elbow into the left knee, pressing it away from your chest, and it'll get you deeper into that left quad. But again, I'm not quad, glute. But I'm more interested in you learning how to resist curling your tailbone because it changes the experience entirely and it's much healthier for your psoas. And we're going to drop that right foot down to the floor, walking over to the left, half lotus, lying down, awakening hip flexors, reinforcing natural curve of the spine, and then use your abdominals. And after the next breath, cross those knees really tightly, draw them in towards your chest. If you can hold on to your feet, whichever way you do this, make sure your feet are lined up, meaning that one foot isn't like close to your body and the other one is aiming to the ceiling. You want them to kind of be in the same place. Symmetry. We're trying to be symmetrical, but there is really no such thing as symmetry. There's no such thing as perfection either. So instead of practice makes perfect, we say practice makes possible. And let it go. And since we're speaking of the psoas, when you bring your feet down to the mat, walk them out a little wider than your hips. And we're going to drop the knees over to the left heel over right knee. Bring the right arm up over your head. And this is completely for your psoas. So if you pull your tummy in, you'll really feel that connection and square your shoulders off. And come back to the center. Feet are wider than your hips. Knees drop to the right, right ankle, left knee, left arm up, shoulders square, and contracted to your abdominals. And hopefully your psoas will thank you. 2 more breaths. So carefully bring it up and take a moment. It's always good to stop in neutral, just to let everything settle and recalibrate. You kind of feel a thing going on. Let that happen. And then Slowly come up to an easy seat. Let's do right over left. We're here because we want to feel the pelvic floor, we want to feel the spine rising, and we want to feel the head lifting towards the heavens, right? So make any adjustment that you need to make in order for that to happen. It's a really lovely, it's a very subtle feeling and interaction, but it's vital. So with all of that, kind of picture your spine as an axis. So we're going to take a really nice corkscrew twist over to the left. You already know that you can deepen your twist by engaging your abdominals, right? So pull your tummy in on the exhale, lean the right shoulder to the right knee, extend out through those left fingertips, aim the left butt down so that you can actually feel the whole length of that left side. I'm going to stay here and just rotate and scoop your abdominals in. And you might feel your shoulders release, and when you do, just extend your spine or unround your back. Also, to include your neck, you can look over your right shoulder. Use your breath. And bring it back. Taking the right leg out to the side, immediately fold forward, reach through the heel, scoop your abdominals in so you can experience that action of going back with the abdominals to go forward with your spine. And if you reach through the heel, you'll fire up the back of the leg. And use your breath. Take a walk over to the right, fold forward. And by this time, you guys know when you've hit the edge of that fold, and it might be actually that you want to twist, so twist. Always adding that extension from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Coming back to the center, we're going to swing that right leg around and underneath so that we're in a pigeon. So adjust your pigeon, understanding it's a fold on the left and an unfold on the right. I'm going to just turn around so you can see. Okay. And respect your edge. So some people can go pretty deep into this and some people can't. But mainly, you want to check in with your hips and make sure they're square, right? So if you can picture putting a level tool on my sacrum, the bubble would be in the middle. We're going to stay here for 5 breaths so that you can actually negotiate with gravity. So let the gravity fall onto the entire length of your back body. And with the breath, same thing as when we play with the blocks and surrender. On the exhale, just give in to gravity. And breathe. So you're going to take your fingertips out in front, if that's comfortable for you, or you can keep your elbows down. It's totally up to you. I'm going to take a little walk over to the right first. It'll intensify in that left, probably leg and hip fold. Then we're going to bring it back and then walk over to the other side. And this may wake up this side, your right side. And all that requires is your attention. So now when you come back to the center, everybody, you have to decide how deep you want to go into this. I'm going to take the right elbow and we're going to thread it underneath. Bend that right arm. Make a fist with that hand and wrap the left hand around the right hand and twist. So if this feels too crazy for you, you might just want to thread the right arm underneath the left and bring your shoulder and your head down. And then we're going to bring it back. Walk it back up. Bring the right knee to the left foot and take an awkward twist to the right. Breathing and using your abdominals. And swing it over to the other side, rolling. Gotta switch again. Rolling, right? So first you want to roll into that hip and get a good psoas stretch. So clearly we're paying a lot of attention to the psoas today. And then you might want to back it up a little. Leave the left hand on the floor. Lift your hips and open this out. Using your breath. Contracting into your abdominals. And bring it down. And when we come back to an easy seat, the left foot's going to be in front of the right, and we're going to immediately twist to the right. Go to your edge. So your edge might be coming a little softer since we've been doing the twisting. And then left shoulder to left knee, side bend. Reach through the fingertips. Aim the right butt down. Get really long in your waist. Go to that edge and then rotate. Scooping your abdominals in, and you might notice your shoulders release, at which point you can extend, a beautiful extension. Unround your back, drop your shoulders. Let the crown of the head go forward and up. Look behind you so that you get a neck stretch. And then when you bring it back to neutral, extend that left leg out and immediately fold forward from the tailbone. Once you hit your edge, so for the most part, this hits a very hard edge. Love it. Engage your breath, engage your abdominals, and you'll start to feel the impact of that. It's like a chain reaction. And you might actually be able to experience going back by pulling your tummy in, going forward as you breathe and use your abdominals. Take a walk over to the left. Keep reaching through the left heel. Again, you know when you're ready to twist. And take that into a twist. Pulling your tummy in. So the reason we pull the tummy in is because it does have an impact. You can actually feel how you're releasing very deep and very low muscles, and that gives you the impetus to literally spiral all the way up. Coming back to the center, we're going to swing that left leg underneath us to end up in a pigeon. Your choice. After you set up your frame, looking for your hips to be square, imagine a level tool, bubbles in the middle. Have a conversation. Remind your body you're doing a fold on the right and an unfold on the left, or a forward bend on the right and a back bend on the left, whatever speaks to you. With fingers extended forward or not, I'm going to take a walk to the left first. It's very intense on the right hip fold, on the right glute. Again, you be the judge. Safety is in your hands. Bring it back to the center and over to the other side. Perhaps feeling that left side all the way to the toes of the left foot. Pressing the ball of the big toe to the ball of the little toe. Bring it back. Oh, I was hoping I was going to be, hold on, I'm going to switch so you can see me in case you didn't hear it the last time. So you're here, thread the left arm underneath the right, then the elbow, make a fist. So we've done this before in frog. A little bit more challenging in a pigeon. So again, be the judge. A less intense twist might be on the agenda for you today. Nice. And let it go. Left knee to right foot. right arch wraps around the left knee, sitting up nice and tall. Take a twist to the left. Imagine that spiral because you're going to need it here. It's an awkward twist. So it's hard to feel lifted and light. And then as you swing your fingertips over and you roll into that left hip, you might actually feel the connection right into that psoas. So the psoas goes from here all the way through your body to the bottom 5 vertebrae. I'm going to walk that right hand back a little bit so that we can lift and open it out. So this too, according to your range of motion, can become really fluid. And then bring it down. Come on to cat and cow, all fours. Let me just move this. Go right into your cat and cow, our little dance. 3, and 2, and 1. Go right into inhale forward, sit back on your heels. We'll do 4 more. 3, 2, and 1. Stay in your child's pose and just prepare yourself. We're going to do the sequence specifically to get our juices flowing. I'm sure I'm going to have a wardrobe malfunction, so I'm going to be proactive here. So we're going to come forward and through to upward facing. We're going to flip over the toes to downward facing. Let's stay here for about 3 breaths. Do whatever your body wants you to do, pedaling. And we're going to wave it forward. You might feel really stiff, so respect that. Wave it back, down to the knees, open the heart, and back to the heels. So in the case of moving, you're actually awakening fluidity, right? So inhale forward and exhale back. So the best thing you can do is not get hung up in judgment or assessing or making sure you're doing the pose right. It's more about flowing, no obstructions, clear path. I think 2 more. Inhale, exhale, last one. Pay attention to the breath because it's a natural flow agent. Forward, exhale back, down to your knees, and sit back on your heels. So your choice, if you want to just stay here very quietly, allowing gravity to help you become very compact, or you can move back and forth, which is what I kind of like to do. So if you shift your hips back and forth, you're going to stay to the right with your hips, walk your fingertips to the left, waking up that side again, taking the right hand over the left, inhaling, exhaling, and pulling your tummy in. Bring it back to the center, hips over to the left, fingertips to the right, left hand over right, wake up that whole left side. Through your armpits. So if you really shift your hips, you'll really feel it through your armpits or your trapezius, not trapezius, triceps. Nice. So we're going to just slink it forward, end up on our tummies. Just take a moment crossing your arms and stacking your hands for a little pillow effect. In the same way that we give into gravity in order to feel our back body on the floor when we're lying down, you're going to do the same thing here so that you can actually feel your front body, and perhaps you'll feel a little awakening of certain parts of your body. Particularly if you release on the exhale and you just allow yourself to kind of flatten into the floor. So you're going to keep your forehead on the floor and bring your fingertips tented like this, even with your chest. So get adjusted to this and make sure that you have control over your shoulders, because you're going to lift up shoulders first and then bring your head up and then let your shoulders slide down your back and your heart open. See if you're clenching your glutes, release them. See if you're using your abdominals. And then we're going to lower down carefully. You can do that 2 more times. If you feel any discomfort in your lower back, just sit back on your heels. And again, shoulders first, then head. When you come up, check in with your glutes, check in with your abdominals, open your heart, slide your blades, use your breath, and bring it down. One more. Shoulders first, glutes release, abdominals engage, shoulders slide down, heart opens, and bring it down. So before we move on, let's sit back on the heels just to make sure that we haven't triggered anything in our lower backs. I'm going to take a second to open a window in here. So, oh, no, I'm not. I don't have the screens. Never mind. So make your way back to your tummy. And let's cross the left arm in front of the chest at a comfortable place. Bend the right knee, grab onto that ankle. If you get a cramp like I just did, you want to take your breath there and just let it lengthen, right? So it's a very quick contraction of the muscle that causes the cramp. So you just want to have a little conversation, say everything's okay, take the breath there, infuse it with air. So again, it's that dense versus air, right? Earth versus air. And then this is all according to your range of motion. Draw the heel towards your butt. Make sure that your hip bones are facing down to the mat. Release the glutes, engage the core. And try and stay lifted in your upper body. So when we release that, we're going to roll onto our left side. I like to make a fist in this. And we're going to do this variation. So first, just check and make sure that your shoulder is over your elbow. And the whole idea here is to get those hips way up, right? And then adjust everything so that you have that stacking of your shoulders. You can leave this hand here because it's very hard to keep those hips up, or you can bring the arm up. So it's up to you. But the main idea here is to keep those hips up so that you fire up or wake up your serratus anterior, your obliques. So if you pull your tummy in, that's going to help. You're going to stay here for another 3 breaths. You don't have to if you can't or you don't want to. One more breath. And lower down. So in a way, this one requires that we play air as opposed to earth, or we play lightness as opposed to denseness, right? So here's where you pull out your tools, depending on the challenge. So end up back on your tummy, crossing the right arm, forearm, in front of your chest at a comfortable place. bend the left knee, grab on, and there's a lot of challenges here. First one is make sure that your hip bones are aiming down towards the mat evenly. Release your glutes, engage your abdominals, and try to stay lifted in your upper body, right? So your upper body is going to want to like completely give in and collapse. So you want to say, that's not to our benefit. Let's just try to stay lifted and open. Inhaling and exhaling. Checking in with all those different internal actions. I'm going to let go and release that. I'm going to swivel around again. I'm going to keep that right arm bent like so. Top leg crosses in front of the bottom leg. And here we go again, right? So I don't think you can argue with how much your body wants to be heavy, dense, and earthbound. So instead, we want to make it light, lifted, and airbound. That might be the purpose of this pose. Totally out of the physical and more into the mental. And let it go. Roll back onto your tummy. If this feels good, rock your hips back and forth. But then we're going to sit back and take about 5 breaths. I don't even have my water. Before we go up into our hang, let's turn the toes under and sit back. Stretch those feet. Back and forth so we get the pinkies. Can always bring it into this one using the breath. And just notice if this has become a little less intense through these weeks and months of doing these. If your toes are more pliant and they respond more positively to this. So we're going to come down and let those feet lengthen. Again, we're going to do something that if this doesn't work for you, don't do it. And if it does, it does. So we're going to turn both wrists like so. And keep the elbows soft and keep the heart open. And that in itself brings a lot of heat to those wrists. You may also want to rock back and forth because it's more comprehensive, right? But just keep those elbows soft. And just let all that energy, all that heat, all that sensation flow. So here's the hard part, and it's definitely up to you. We're going to turn those toes, turn those toes under and make our way to a hang with the wrists turned. If this sounds too crazy to you or it feels impossible, just don't do it. If you want to try it, it's interesting. And you can stay here for as many breaths as you like. Let's say 2 more. I take that back, 2 more. We're going to let that go and see if you can turn your wrists and stand on them. So this is the counter pose for the wrists, clearly, but it's a whole different like circuit. You've created a circuit. So energetically, you can either imagine or maybe even feel the energy circulating through the arms, through the hands, through the heels, up the legs, across the sacrum, down the back and the head. And just breathe. And let it go. We're just going to stay here. At any point, if you need to come up because you're getting dizzy, please do, and then just join back in. So we're going to stay here, walking the fingertips so far forward that you create the biggest crease in your ankles you possibly can imagine. You'll feel your Achilles, you'll feel your calf. You'll also find the corners of your heels, which become very important in some poses. And then we're going to walk it back to neutral, shift the weight onto the heels, and the toes will lightly touch. But then suddenly, you can actually fold a little deeper. So aim the chest to the thighs. And 2 more times. We're going to walk it forward, big crease in the ankles. Big, big crease. And then walk it back. This is a big hip crease. So we did an ankle crease, now we're doing a hip crease. And 1 more time for the ankle crease. It's cool how you can see it. And then we're going to walk it back. Fold forward. Big hip crease. Come back to the center. Keep your knees soft and roll it up. So if anything is cranky, move it. Like my lower back is a little cranky. So let's stay in this hang. You're going to need some room behind you. So let's say that we should come up to the front of the mat. Feet or hips width apart. We can do a lot of shoulders, so let's do some shoulders here. Just roll. Big circles, one direction, and then switch to the other direction. Come back to neutral and extend your fingertips down to the floor, really wide from thumb to pinky. Feel your armpits. Inhale, exhale, and then we'll squeeze the shoulders up and we'll drop the shoulders down. We'll do 4 more of those. 3, 2, and 1. Floating the arms up, meet at the top, interlock the fingers, find your steeple, and draw the arms back. Feel the tops of the shoulders, but then again, feel the shoulder blades sliding down. Wherever those elbows are, bend them and bring them behind your head. Wherever your arms hit your head and your head hit your arms, you're going to press isometrically and see if you can release your shoulders. If you get out of the way, the shoulders will just drop down because they really like this. And 1 more breath. We're going to release, bringing the arms back up, interlock all the fingers, turn the palms up, and give yourself a back bend. Check in with your shoulders, make sure they're sliding down and you have a nice bend in the middle to upper back, but you're also using your abdominals. Bring the hands in front of the heart, where everything rounds with the shoulders. See if you can feel it through your spine, every single vertebrae down to the tailbone. Release the hands, bring them behind the back, clasp the palms together and squeeze. You can also stretch your neck here just by looking right and left. So when we release, we're going to do a balance. Shift the weight onto the left first and bring the right leg behind you. If you're feeling wobbly, make this very small and bring your arms up. So you may just want to stay here for 5, or you may want to try and bring your torso and your leg parallel, like a seesaw. And then if you can, so if you can do it from here, or if you just need to meet us, bring your fingertips down to the floor with your right leg extended behind you. So I'm going to give everybody a chance to meet me here. We're going to flex that foot and step it back. You want to be on a flat foot. And we're going to take a few breaths here just to fold forward because it's a really good stretch on both legs, but mainly the one in the front. And keep using your abdominals, and you'll notice how you might go a little bit further, but it's not about that. So we're going to extend the spine, flex the left foot, come up onto the toes of the back foot, lift the heel, and take a runner's stretch. If you consciously extend the left buttock bone away from the left heel, you'll feel or fire up or wake up the back of that left leg even more. Inhaling and exhaling. And then we're going to come back to 2 straight knees, 2 feet on the floor. You're going to hop that right foot behind the left and take a walk over to the left. So we tend to forget about the back often just because from the challenge of the different shapes. So just take a couple of breaths here to unround your back. Inhaling and exhaling. Walk everything back to the center. Step the right foot next to the left. Fold forward. And I'm going to say keep your back rounded this time. To roll up using your abdominals. So let's take a moment and let all of that kind of settle in. Feel your feet back on the ground, feel the stacking, the bones. Bones make you feel safe. And all these poses pull you out to the edges. You want to consciously bring everything back to the center, right? So you want to think about the center as the pelvis, which it is. Just send your attention to your pelvis. And then we're going to shift the weight onto the right foot and carefully lift the left behind us. Again, measure your ability and decide what part of this you want to concentrate on. So if you want to do the full pose, it's bringing your torso and your leg parallel to the floor and holding it there for a few breaths. If you get there, just don't forget to extend the fingertips forward and the toe back and lengthen between those 2 actions. And then if you're able to bring it all the way down, fingertips are on the floor, fold forward first. You're going to flex that left foot and step it back on its own side and fold forward. And this might be a lot of stretching for you. And again, you want to use your good judgment. You may want to use blocks, okay? Never any problem using blocks. And then we're going to flex that right foot, come up onto the toes of the back, then the knee. And the last part of it is extending your spine or unrounding your back. And then you can very mindfully extend the heel of the right foot away from the right buttock bone. Keep breathing and extending and opening your spine and filling up the shape with your breath. And bring both legs straight. You're going to hop the left foot behind the right, but still behind you. And take a little walk over to the right. So try to resist swinging your whole body over to the right. So give it a little bit of a nudge over to the left. Breathing. Contracting. extended. And bring it back. We're going to step that left foot up to the right, fold forward, keep your knees soft, and roll it up. Oh my goodness. I had no idea what time it was. Uh-oh. All right, let's do one sun salutation sequence. We don't do a lot in lunges, so let's do some lunging. So come forward, hands at heart. Again, a moment, a pause, reconnection. And you're going to inhale, bring the arms out in a big movement. Exhale, fold forward. We're going to have to throw an Utkatasana in here just because. So we're going to stay here for 3 breaths just to make it beautiful. I'm going to fold forward, stepping back on the left to a lunge. So lunges are pretty challenging, mainly because of the back foot. So I mentioned the corner of that heel becomes very important. Here's where it becomes very important. So you want to find the corner of that heel. You want to make sure this knee is over the ankle. And then we want to bring the arms up. If you're unable to do this, please don't. This is very challenging. And then we're going to use that idea of denseness versus lightness, earth versus air, right? So that you don't become too heavy. You want to play with the lightness of this pose. One more breath. So we're just going to bring that left hand down where the left foot would be and take a twist. I think I'm going to make this really hard. Maybe even too hard for me. So we're going to turn onto the back foot, walk the right foot either to a supported Vajrasthana or a full Vajrasthana. Your choice. You may not want to do it at all. I'm going to stay here for another 2 breaths. And then bring both hands down. This brings us to a dog. We'll just stay in for a few breaths. And then your choice, you can jump it if you'd like to, or you could just step it. I'm going to jump it just for the hell of it, just to get the feet back up to the front of the mat. Fold forward, reverse the swan dive, and back to the heart. Come back to your center. Take a pause. Recalibrate. Inhale, bring the arms out and up. Exhale, fold forward. Utkatasana, chair pose. If you want to lift the heels, lift the heels. When you drop those heels and you fold forward, shift the weight onto the left, step back with the right for a lunge. So know that the first priority is hips being square. And for today, I want to play lightness. I want to play lifting away from the earth, adding air to your life. And then lift. So we're going to bring that right hand down where the right foot would be and take a twist. So you can kind of see how this is like a perfect setup for the challenge of doing that Vajrasthana. So we're going to turn on to the outside of the back foot, and you can just bring this left foot here, or you can make it a full side plank. And use your breath. And here's where you really have to play air. And bring it back down. Jackknife it back to your dog. Use your breath. I'm having a wardrobe malfunction. Okay. So we're going to walk the hands back to the feet. Take a moment in your hang. Bring heels together, toes apart. our favorite ballet squat. Oh. Breathing. And one more breath. So drop onto your butt. Let's go straight into our boat. Take 5 breaths here. Just pulling your tummy in if that's where you're at with this. And often it's just a reminder because you really need to use your abdominals here. That's what it's for, so why not? Let go for 5. If you stay tight in this, your hip flexors, they kind of don't start screaming, but if they start screaming, it means you're not using your abdominals for 5. So here's the challenge, guys. You can either stay here for another 5, you can do your jackknives for 5, or you can, from remember what we started with, right? Feet together, Baddha Konasana. But this time, if you can, I'm going to bring this into a split boat. And just pull your tummy in. Let's say 2 more breaths, depending on where you are. Nice. And let's bring it back down. Cross into an easy seat. And let's just fold forward. And really relinquish everything to gravity here. And then take a walk over to the right. And then over to the left. And when you hinge it back up, let's cross right foot over left. And you don't have to hook if it's too much, but if you care to hook, we're going to hook. And then bring it back and switch and twist. And come back. Easy seat. Hands at heart. Close your eyes. This is the mudra of reverence. You place it in front of your heart because the first one you want to love is yourself. So with that intention, breathe into your heart, expand your heart, love your heart. Take that energy, that warm, safe, beautiful energy. Bring your thumbs, bridge of your nose, eye sockets. Take that love to your third eye, to your higher self, to the part of you that does become awakened, inspired. And take all that love and inspiration and send it out through your fingertips to the rest of the world. Namaste. Thank you.